Today I'll show you how you can monetize your N8 workflows, and not just that, you can build any kind of monetizable applications using FanStack. Right. So before I tell you what FanStack is, let me just explain very quickly the three important steps that's involved in any kind of application or software that essentially makes you money. Right. The first step is collecting user input. So first you capture the necessary details of files or whatever from your users through an easy to use interface, right? Depending on the kind of application. And after that, you prompt your users to complete payment using a payment processor before you proceed towards giving them the service or fulfilling the service or the product. And after that, once payment is done, everything is confirmed, you just manually or automatically fulfill the services, right? So fulfill the service or just deliver the product, ultimate product that you're offering. So these are the three important steps that's involved in any kind of application or software, right? So this is the foundation. So with that being said, let me now talk about FanStack, right? What is this FanStack and what's that about? So FanStack is basically a stack comprised of four different tools. So F stands for Form Zero. So Form Zero is a tool that I built which lets you create privacy first forms, and it also provides an interface to accept user inputs for almost any use case, right? It basically acts like a front end. So I'm not just seeing this as a form builder, but it's a platform that lets you create an interface to accept user input for almost any of your use cases, right? So this is what we'll be using to collect user inputs, and then we're going to process this to ultimately deliver our product, by charging our users, right? So this is what we'll be using for the front end, and we have Airtable for A, and with this acts just like a database, right? We store and manage all our data over here. And then we have N8 for N. So this you can use to connect anything and automate everything. This basically acts like a heart of our entire flow, right, of our system. This is our backend. And then we have S, stands for Stripe. Of course, we need to make money, right? So that's why we're going to use a payment processor. So Stripe is a very well-known payment processor that allows us to charge users with a very minimal code setup, and also the support is really good, right? So we can use Stripe for this setup. This is what FanStack is all about. It makes it easy to launch a full stack automated application without having to write any code. Of course, this depends on the kind of application that you're building, but for most of the cases, to get started, you don't have to write any complex code. So this stack makes it super simple to get started, build applications, and start monetizing it. Right. So enough talk. Let me show you what's actually we are trying to build here in this demo. Right. So I'm trying to build this kind of application where I might have seen this AI headshots generator. Right. There are many tools online that takes in this raw image and then converts it into a professional looking image, something like this, which you can use in your resume or any other kind of professional setup, right? So this is the kind of tool that you're trying to build only using this fan stack, right, that we have. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to fully build out the app. What I have is I have the initial template that you need, right, that you can use to start building your applications as well. So that's what I have. The core logic or the flow where we generate a professional looking image using the raw image, that part is trimmed out because I'm not really focused on that in this video. So the purpose of this video is to show you the use case of how you can use FanStack to get started and start monetizing your flows, right? Your workflows, and you can adapt this template according to that. So first, actually start with the data model, right? Let's prepare our data model. What all details we need to collect from users, and how are we going to process it? So I've already done most of the things. I'm just going to go through them so that we can wrap up this video faster, right? Otherwise, it's going to take a lot of time. So starting from our data model, like I said, our database is going to be Airtable. So this is where we're going to store all our details. So for our application, right, these are the four details that we just need. So the first is username, right? We need to collect username so that we can refer to them somewhere throughout the journey. So we need email address because that's how we're going to send them the final images that we generate, right? So that's why we need their email address. After that, we have this payment status. So this is like an enum, like it has two states, basically paid and unpaid. If I just click on this, it's a single select. So if I just click on this, So it has these two states, unpaid and paid. So this allows us to track the payment status of the user, right? So by default, uh, the status would be unpaid, and once they complete the payment, you're going to turn it into paid, right? And then we have attachments. So this is the table, I mean the column where we're going to store all the files, right, that user uploads initially, like the raw image of themselves. So this is where we're going to store it. So I think these are the four uh, important details or the input that we require from our users. So that's it. I just added these four columns here, and we are done with the data model, right? Now next step is to actually build a front end, right, to accept these details, right? And after this, we're going to pass that data over to our n8n and then start building our backend, right? Then we're going to connect them together to build our full-fledged application, right? So we are done with the data model, the first part. Now let's head over to form 0, where we can build our form, right, to accept these inputs. So what I've done is I've already built this form for me to make this process easier and faster. What you can do is just go to form0.app, right? This is the landing page of it, and you can read more about the application itself. And so when you get to the dashboard, you can start creating your forms, and I've already created one over here. All you have to do is you have different options, like different input fields here. You can just click on one of these fields and it gets added to the interface. Let me just delete this, and this is how we have built our form so far. So on top we have a heading, right? This comes from here, heading. And then we have this embed section. This comes from this embed field, right? If I just click on the settings, so you can embed any kind of video or source. Basically, you can, if you want to try to, if you are trying to embed anything, you can just do that by pasting the HTML embed code, like iframe or markdown or anything like. And then you can set up labels. So if you just look at this form, it almost looks like a landing page, right? Where you get to see the heading on top, and then you have a small introduction video of what this tool is about, like how to use it. You can just embed your own tutorial here. You can shoot a tutorial on YouTube or Loom or Tela or any software like that, and then just embed it over here. So it gives your users how to use this kind of application, right? Or basically tells you the results or the benefits of this tool, right? And then we are describing what this tool is about. So get best quality headshots in 3 simple steps. So these are the 3 steps that they need to follow. We have our most important input fields right here, right? So the first one is an input field to accept images from users. So you can do that by adding a file upload field from here. So just click on this, it gets added to the form. And then if you just click on the settings icon, and then you can start modifying each of these details, right? So you can just set the label like um, something like upload your image, and then you can add descriptions, gets added to the bottom. And then webhook key, this is something important because this is how we're going to recognize the value that's being sent from our form, right? In n8n. So make sure this is set to something sensible, like for example in this case it can be something like a raw image, right? And then we can refer to this field or this value inside our n8n by using this key. So this is if it's readable and sensible, I think it's going to make our lives easier. And then we can set it to as required field, right? This makes sure that user provides the value before submitting the form. And then we can set the value to also accept multiple files, not just one. So for this demo, I just set it to one field. And then maximum file size, you can set the values over here. And then allowed file types, you can basically whitelist or allow the kind of files that you want to accept, right? And over here I've just let me just delete this and show you what I've added here. And this is what I'm accepting: jpgs, jpegs, and pngs. We don't really need all these kind of different files. And then we have name. This comes from the short text input field. So once you click on that, it gets added to the form. And then again, you can just start modifying it. Let me show you what I've done here. So the label, I've set it to name. Placeholder is this. Description, I've added enter your name. That's what you're seeing here. And then webhook key, like I said, if you just name it something easy to recognize, it's going to be useful for us to do the same on the backend. And default value, you can set the default value, but I'm not going to do that, it's not required. And this field is set to required because we need the name to be present, right? So that's how we're gonna refer to them. And then at the end we have email field. So I've set these values here. So I've made sure to set all these three fields to required and make sure they provide these values mandatorily. And after that, I've also updated this the submit button to something like proceed to pay, right? And so this is how it looks like. And thank you message, if you just click on this, right? So this is how it looks like. So this is the static message that you can set. This is what will be showed once the user submits the form, right? But in our case, what we're doing is once the user fills out the form, like once they provide all those input, and then click on proceed to pay, what we're going to do is we're not going to show this custom message, but instead what we're doing is we are using this kind of approach here, dynamic thank you message. We're going to send the message, a dynamically generated message from our backend, which also involves a button, right? Once they click on that, they'd be taken to a payment page, like a Stripe payment page, where they can complete the payment. And once they complete the payment, we'll kickstart our main workflow, right? So that's how the flow is going to look like. So once we have completed this form, right, we can just add fields to it and then customize everything. We have an option here called as preview and test. Once you click on this, we can actually do the testing over here, right, before publishing this form. So you can provide the files. Once you click here, you can just upload the file and then give your name and also email, right? And once you click on this, it's actually going to make a request to the connected webhook, right? And this is where we are supposed to connect our form to our backend, which is our n8n, right? So we're going to do that using a webhook, right? So first let me just go to the webhook section. So I've already done this, so let me just do it again. What I'm going to do is click on this and go to my workflow, and this is the actual workflow in itself. So don't get intimidated, it's pretty easy actually. So let me just explain it very quickly. So the first workflow that you're seeing here on top, this basically handles user input, right? This accepts user input and then saves it into an Airtable, and then generates a payment link for user to make the payment, and then passes it back to the user. So that's what this workflow does. And then we have a second workflow over here at the bottom. This basically handles the Stripe webhook, right? Once the user makes a payment, Stripe will let us know about the status of the payment. So we'll just keep listening for that event over here, and then once we receive a successful payment status event, that's when we are gonna update the status of user from unpaid to paid. Remember, the initial state of user is set to initial payment status set to unpaid whenever we create a new entry in this table. And then once we receive a successful status, that's when we're going to turn it into paid. And from here, this is where our actual logic or the main selling point of our application lies, right? We're going to process the data that we have received from the user, and then send them over the result through email. So that part is not covered because that's not really important in this video. The whole point of this video was to give you this template, the initial starter template that you can use to basically connect this to your existing workflow, and then get started to creating and monetizing your applications. Just quickly open this. I'm just going to turn it off, and I'll open this, copy the test URL, and get back here, and I'm going to use the test URL first. So remember, n8n offers us two different kinds of webhooks. So the first one is test, and then the other one is production. So test URL allows us to basically test all the things that we have done so far, right? Allowing us to go through each node step by step and make sure everything works fine in a sequence. And once everything is set up correctly, then we can use production URL to run through the entire sequence at one execution. So that's what we're going to use webhook, the test webhook first for. So since we have built our form, now it's time for us to just give it a quick test, right? It's saying not found because I'm not listening to the events, any events. So click on save. So it says it's live and successfully connected. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn it back on again and make a simple dummy request, right? just to make sure the data from our form is correctly being sent over to our n8n, right? Then we have a name and then email, then click on proceed to pay, right? And the form data was sent correctly, and then we are seeing the static message because so when you use your test webhook URL, so you would always see the custom message that you set over here, right, in your builder. So this is the custom message that you set. So if you use production URL, then you would see exactly that which was returned by your workflow, right, in response. So we'll cover that next. So what we did just now is we have quickly set up a form, right? We have built like a little landing page here with title and a small demo of how the application is and the instructions for users, and we are basically accepting the important user inputs from this form, right? And once they click on proceed to pay, so all the data that they've entered will be sent to our backend, right? And that's when we're going to process. That was about the front end, right? We're done with the front end now. So as you can see, we have received our uh, data that we have sent from a front end. So if we can show you, so this is the image that was sent, right? So if you can see, this is the same image and comes with a key called as raw image. If I just show you this detail over here, so this is the key, right? So that's why I said this needs to be something easy to read and understand, because this is how you're gonna identify the values or the fields that are being sent from the form, right? And let's also look at the other details, right? Not just image, we are also accepting the name and email, right? It's over here inside the body. We have name and email, exactly the same details that I entered in the form, right? And it's being sent over to our n8n. And form 0 doesn't store any of your data, so all the data that's entered in the form will be directly sent over to your backend. So yeah, you can be worry free about your data security and privacy. So that's why form 0 is a privacy first form builder. Right, so we have now received the input. From here we're going to take it forward and we'll go through step by step and how we're going to process all this, and I'll show you everything, right? So since I've received the data, right, from the form, right, it has two different kinds of data now. So we have a text form of data, then we have a binary form, which is our image, right? So in order for me to deal with that easily, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this code node. What happens is it takes this binary and then converts it into an object that I can easily deal with, right? So if I just run this test step, so as you can see, it just took this raw image, this binary data, and converted this into a base 64 version of it, right? So that I can easily use and pass around this value in my workflow, right? I also get some additional informations like MIME type, file extension, file name, and file size, and all those details, which I'll be using further in the workflow, right? It's going to be easier for me to deal with if I use this approach. You can see another node called as input variables. So this is basically to hold all the variables at one place, right? So that I can pick and use it from anywhere in the workflow, right? So I'm just taking all the data that I'm receiving in the form and putting it into a single object that I can just directly use inside anywhere in my workflow, right, from one place. So this is that one place, right? So I'm putting everything together here: name, email, and raw image. So this raw image is basically this object which was given to us by this code node. If we can just run this, it gives me an object which looks something like this, right? It's a single object with all the necessary details that I'll be using further. Next step is, this is where we are first adding our user input to our into our database, right? So let me just show you what's inside. So this is an Airtable node, which is this is a built-in node, right? I'm using I've just created a personal access token, right, which you can get by going over here inside in your Airtable. Just click on account, go to account section, and then over here you have this go to developer hub. Click on this, and then if you just click on personal access tokens. So here are some keys that I created earlier. You can create one for yourself by clicking on this create new token and then giving appropriate permissions, right? For example, I can just name it something else and add scope. Make sure to give all these scopes, right? Not this one. Data records read, data records write, and then schema base read, schema base write. I think these are the four important uh, permissions that you need. And also make sure to add your base right here. Sometimes if you don't add this, it doesn't work, so make sure you connect the appropriate base where your where you have your table. And once you do that, just click on create token. It will get you a token, and then use it inside your n8n, right? And the resource is going to be record. You don't need to worry about that. Operation is create, and you can just select your base and the table that you created, and you're just manually looping through the column names, right? And adding appropriate values and setting appropriate values here. So as you can see, name is, I'm actually picking everything from this input variables. Remember that one field, like centralized node where we're trying to pick values from. So this is where I'm picking this value from, picking the value from email, right? From here. And then the payment status, like I said, by default the payment status would be unpaid. And once they complete the payment and we receive a successful event from Stripe, that's when we're going to turn it back to paid, right? Then attachments is set to empty array right now, because there's no way for us to, while we create this record, I don't know why Airtable does it in a different way. So that's why we're just setting it to empty. And then in the next step, we're going to upload an image, right? So we just click on test step. It actually creates a record, as you can see. If I just show you over here, over here, and let me just refresh this. So you can see it just created a record. I don't know why this is empty, but let me just remove this. So it just created a record with the same name, email address, and payment status set to none, and attachments is currently empty. So, and next, go to let me just go to next step, which is upload image. So this is where we are just taking the base 64 data that we have in our workflow, and then converting and uploading that to Airtable, right? And you need to use this API, and which you can find in the documentation, or if you're using this template, you don't need to worry about anything. So this is where you need to set your record ID, and it's being picked automatically from the previous result, right? And then you have your table ID here. This you need to update. And then I'm sorry, this is not table ID. This is uh, the column, the column ID, right? So the column in which we are trying to upload this image to, right? So this is that column. So attachments. So you can get the ID of this by right clicking. You can click on copy field URL, and just, if you just open this, sorry, if I just open this in a new tab, you can see this one, FLD, starting with FLD. So this is basically the field ID of that column, right? And if I can brief you a little bit, this is the base ID, and this is the table ID, and this is the view ID, and this is the field ID. So we are just worried about the field ID. Let me just copy that. If I just copy that, and I can just paste it over here, right? So this is the field ID, and then upload attachments. So this is the part of the URL. So all you need here is, you just need to update these two values, the base ID and the field ID, right? That's it. And then authentication as usual. So you can just do that by built-in setup, right? Credential type, you can just select this to access token API, Airtable person access token API, and select your API key. And then here, this is where you send over all the details, right, regarding your image. It says content type, file, and the file name. So remember, we have all this information within one node, which is our input variable. So you can just drag and drop things over here, and then it's done, right? That's all. So if you just click on this, let me show you how it works. So it executes perfectly. If I just show you the table, as you can see, the image was uploaded. So if you can just click this, so this is that same image that I uploaded earlier, and it's right here inside this. And now next step is, so what you've done is we have accepted user data and then pushed all the necessary data into our database, which is our Airtable, right? And now it's time to create the payment link that we need to give it to our users so that they can complete the payment to confirm the order, right? So I have another node here, another edit field node to basically centralize the variable initialization. So I have this Stripe product price ID. So this is important because this is the product that you're trying to sell, right? So I've actually made a dedicated video on how to set this up, like generating the payment link and also handle the Stripe payment status, right? So I'll make sure to link that video somewhere on top. So make sure to watch that video to get a full understanding of how you can set up the payment part of the work. So I'm just going to make it real quick in this video. So for you to get the Stripe product price ID, all you have to do is just create a Stripe account, go to product catalog, Then create your product over here, click on create product. And then for this demo I'm using this default one. So by default you would get a default variant, something like this, right, for each product. So you can use that and click on copy price id, and this is what you want, and this is what you'll be selling basically. And then once you do that, just paste it over here. It starts with price underscore some characters, right, to uniquely identify that product. And then once you click on this, it basically runs this. And then this is where you have you're generating the payment link, right? So you're using this payment links API endpoint, which is this one right here in the docs, as mentioned in the docs. And if I just go back, so these are the details that you're passing over here. Again, bearer, you're getting this the API key. You just go to your Stripe dashboard again, click on developers at the bottom left, right? And then over here, API keys, you have your secret key. Just copy this, not the publishable key, but this one, and then paste it over here. And then you're just passing all the necessary details, right, again. So you're passing your price ID here, which I'm again picking it from the variable um, that I initialized in the previous node from here. And then the quantity is set to 1 right now, and then this value after completion hosted confirmation, there's some like thank you message once the payment is confirmed, right? And then over here metadata, I'm just passing the id, right, the id of the entry which was created in our a table, right? So I need this so that I can use the same value again. So once the payment is successfully done, Stripe is going to let us know through the webhook, right? So it's going to make a request to this webhook. So inside this, along with the request, it's also going to pass the record ID. Like for example, if I can show you, I've pinned the data here so that I can show you that. So here, as you can see, metadata inside the metadata, we're getting the same key here again, record ID. So this will allow us to get the same data again and update the status to paid, right? So that's why we're using that. So that's why passing the record ID in the metadata, right? So once we just configure everything here, just click on test step. So this will make a request to their endpoint and give us this URL, right? So this is basically the payment URL. If you just open this in a new tab, as you can see, this is a checkout page that you see, and then users can fill in this information and make a payment, right? So we got that URL, and next what we're doing is we're using this respond to webhook, right? So this is the node that we're using. Remember, we are dynamically generating the thank you message, right? We're not using this custom message here, so we're just following this instructions, dynamic thank you message. We need to send a basically a HTML string, right, something like this, that we want to display once the form is successfully submitted, with a key called as thank you message, and we're following the same guidelines here. So I'm just passing back an object with the key thank you message, and over here I have a simple HTML string, and I'm just passing the JSON URL, right? JSON URL is basically this URL. I'm just picking that up and passing it here. So the end result would look, so if I just run this, it just executes successfully. So this is the first part where we accept user input from the form. We add the user data, we store the user data in our a table, then we generate the Stripe payment link and pass it back to our user, right? So this is how everything works. So let me actually show you how everything works, right? Like the first step, so let me just turn it to active, and then I'm just going to use the production URL this time, right? Not the test one, but the production. So everything should execute at one go, and then we should receive the payment link in the response so that we can display it once the user submits the form successfully. So I'm just going to use the same production webhook here that I copied, and test connection and save. So you need to use production URL once you feel everything's working fine, right? Like we have seen just now. So we use the test step, go through each node step by step and make sure everything is working fine in sequence. And once we confirm everything's working fine, then we can use the production URL to do the final testing, right? Once I get back to the builder section, I go to this preview and test, and here again I'm just going to upload the same image, right? And this time I'm going to use a different name. So once I do this, what should happen is it should make a request to send it to over to our your N8N, and then it should process our input, save our data into a table, generate a payment link and return back this HTML, which should get automatically rendered, right, by our application, by the form 0. As you can see, it's just a button, right, with this URL, with the checkout URL. So if I just go back and click on proceed to pay, let's see what happens. You see, it says we have received your details. Now please make the payment to confirm your order. So this is exactly what we are returning over here from this section, right? So this is the same HTML string. So you can just pass any dynamically generated HTML string in the response, and that will be rendered over here as thank you message. And now what user can do is click on pay now, right? It basically takes to the checkout page again, where they can just fill in their information and complete the payment, right? So basically we should now have a record in our database, right, of this user. If I can just show you that, go back here, let me refresh this. As you can see, the latest added user Ken, whose status is unpaid, and the attachment is also present here, right? So once the payment is done, right, Stripe is going to let us know the payment status, right? So we have to figure that out. So we have to configure that. So let me show you that. Again, this part is going to remain the same, explained in detail how this flow works and how this validation and everything works, right? Make sure to check out the other video that I'll link again on top. We need to connect this webhook to Stripe so that it can make a call to this, right? So what we're going to do is go to our Stripe, and inside this developer section again, we have the section called as webhooks, right? And if you just click on create an event destination, and this is where you'll add your N8N webhook, right? Just click on this and make sure to copy the production URL. Yep, come back, paste it over here, and add a description, let's say N8N test, and then just keep this to default, and then select events to send. And the most important event that we are very much interested in is this one, is this one, checkout session completed. Like this event gets triggered when the payment successfully goes through, right? And click on add events, add endpoint, and that's it, right? We have now successfully added a webhook um, to Stripe, right? And another important thing to set up is also this crypto, right? Inside this crypto we have this HMAC secret, which you can get it from here, right? Signing secret. If you just click on reveal, just need to make sure to replace this with the right value here, right? I just replaced it with the value that I just copied, and that's it. So over here in this part we just need to set up the webhook and use the webhook secret which was given by the Stripe, right? And that's it. That's all we have to do here in this part. So this basically receives the event, validates, and make sure it actually coming from Stripe and not some random person making a request to this endpoint, right? And once that all that validation is done, we are going to hit this true path, right? And again, if you want to learn more how this is done, watch that video. It's a detailed video. And over here again, I'm just using the edit fields node to centralize all the variables, right? Remember, it also sends us, like I showed you in the previous step, that in the webhook request you also get this record ID, right, that we send while generating the payment link. So we're going to use that to basically update the payment status of the user, right? So this is the Airtable node again, and I'm performing this operation called as update, right, wherein you just need to select all the values and just add the value that you want to update, right? So I'm just selecting the value by the record ID and updating the payment status to paid. That's all I'm doing here. So there's no way for me to test this. Of course I can do this by pinning data, but I'll just run everything together at once to show everything working smoothly, right? I'll just save this and go back to my form, right? And let me just initiate a new um, request again. So just click on preview and test. I'm just going to upload the same image this time, and name is set to Jenny gmail.com. So click on proceed to pay, and now I got the link. And if I just click on this, I should be taken to the checkout page. Let me just complete this. You can actually pre-fill this email as well. I think you can check out the docs for more information. And 1225 CVVs 123. Name on the card is Jenny. Right. Since we have created the payment link successfully, you should also see a record already added. See, Jenny's record is already added and status is set to unpaid. So once I complete the payment, this should automatically be changed to paid. So click on pay. Yep, it says thank you for your payment. And if I just check, as you can see, it's turned to paid. Right. So that means that the webhook is working perfectly fine. I'll show you how it all went through, right, in the executions section. So if I just go back here inside executions and take a look at the last and the latest execution over here on top, you can see this was what executed, right? So we got this webhook event from Stripe, and it also gave us the record ID, right, which we're using over here. This part basically does the validation, and you don't have to worry about this part, right? And then over here we are getting the record ID from the request, and then we are performing an update action again. So we're just selecting the same record again and doing this setting the payment status to paid. Right? That's what we're doing here, and then we can get the same record. And after this, so this is where you need to add your own logic, right? Maybe using your own proprietary model to perform the generation, image generation or something like it all depends on your workflow, right, from here. So these two workflows sets the stage, right, for you to get started very quickly, like accepting user inputs, generating the payment link, and also receiving a successful payment status from Stripe. So these two workflows covers that part, and this is where you next, right, once the payment is successful, so you then process the user input that you have collected, and then just send them the final result, right, through email. So this is one through email, or no matter which however you design your application to be, right, so you can do that. Perfect. So this was the entire flow of how we can use fan stack to quickly build out and start monetizing your workflows and build cool applications, right? So if you just go back here now, let me also tell you some key advantages of using fan stack specifically, right? So the first benefit I would say is speed to market. So enables users even without programming skills to build sophisticated front-end triggers and back-end automations, right? With fan stack, and no need to manage front-end, back-end database authentication or deployment, right? If you're using tools like Lovable or Bold, then you should worry about these things individually. Then if you're using fan stack, all you have to do is just to drag, drop, connect, and publish. That's all you have to. And most of them are no code tools, so it should be very easy for you to get started and up and running. And second point is security and privacy. So supports secure data handling with privacy first principles of form 0. And like I said, no matter what kind of forms or applications you're building using form 0, all the data is directly sent from form 0 to your connected backend, right? So no data is stored in between, or no data is cached or logged or stored, or it's not processed at all. So all of the data that user submits, it's directly forwarded to your backend. So it's totally privacy first, and you don't really have to worry about complying with regulations because we are not storing any of your data, right? So all the data belongs to you, and you manage it by yourself completely. And then massive flexibility. The third point is adaptable for VAS. This is what I call as workflow as a service products, right? Where you have your own innate and workflow that gives you, that brings value to the table. Like it accepts some input and then gives out something valuable to your clients or your users. So all you need is a really good front end to accept data, and also attach it to a payment processor to start accepting payments, right? So that's what this stack is built for, right? Adaptable for building workflow as a service and micro SaaS products as well. Remember those products that does one specific thing really good. So it's really good for building those kind of micro SaaS products, right? One such example is the one that we discussed, right? Where it's a very simple and straightforward workflow where you accept raw image and then turn it back into something professional. That's all it does. So we can even classify it under workflow as a service, right? And after that, internal tools, you can build internal tools for your clients, for your company, or for your business. And you can do a lot more different things with this stack, right? And then direct monetization, and that's the fourth major benefit, I would say. With Stripe, and it instantly enable charging for value delivered. So no need to pay platform fees or any cut for processing your fees, right? Remember, there's a platform called as Gumroad where you can list your product and then sell it online very easily. Right? This stack resembles Gumroad, but it's just that you're not paying too much, right? Gumroad, if you know, they take a cut of about 13 to 15% of your sale, right? Which is a lot. But if you're using this stack, then you're not really paying for anything. Form Zero, it's easy and free to get started, right? You can build unlimited forms and send unlimited submissions. And the N8N, you're paying for it. If you're self-hosting, then it's a very minimal cost. And Airtable, it's free for up to certain limit. Talking about Stripe, they charge you based on the value, right? The they process. So you're just directly paying to the Stripe, and there's no platform or any middleman in between that's taking a cut, right? So you're directly handling everything on your own, right? Yeah, you have your front end, your back end, your storage, and your payment processing. So all four, everything is in your control. So this is very hard. This combination is kind of very hard to achieve because not all of them will be under your control, right? So you have this massive flexibility when it comes to using FanStack, right, for your applications. So finally, before I wrap up this video, I would like to highlight these points, right? So if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Even you can drop it in the comments or just email me, right? I know this was a very lengthy video, but I had to explain a lot of things, right, for you to understand clearly. And download the starter template workflow used in the video from the description section, right? So this is the workflow that I'm talking about. So this involves both of these flows, right? So the first one, like I said, accepts user input, storage of user input, and then generate the payment link. And then this is where we confirm and then process it further. So this is how it goes. So you can get both of these and just adjust or tweak it as per your requirement. Maybe you want to use Google Sheets instead of Airtable, you can do that. Like, it's yours totally. You can tweak it however you like. And also let me know what you would like to see next. Like, if you want me to build a real world application, not just a demo purpose, right? Like, if you have something in mind, just feel free to let me know. I'll try to cover that as well. And then last but not least, I'm actively working on adding more features to Form Zero. Like I said, it's something that I'm actively working on to make it really good. And if there's something specific you would like to see, or if you have any feedback, just feel free to let me know. I'd happily listen to you, right? And that's it. Thank you so much for watching this video till the end, and I hope you download the starter template and get started with FanStack and start monetizing your workflows. I'll see you again in another video. Hold on, just a sec. I forgot to mention the most important thing, which is once you've configured and built everything, right? You've built your front end, connected back end, and done everything. It's very important to share your form. Otherwise, how will you get paid? So I forgot to mention that. Once you've built your form, you connected everything, and you've also connected your webhook, you can go to this share section. So this is where you can share the link of your form, right? So like I said, I'm working on adding a custom domain so that you can connect your form to your custom domain directly. Like someone visits your domain, they would directly land and see your form, right? So you can do something like that. So I'm still working on that feature, but until then, you can directly share the form link, or if you have your own website, you can just embed the form directly to your website. So you have these options that you can prefer: the iframe embed or JavaScript embed, or you can embed this as a pop-up, right? So you can these methods to embed this form or share your form with the users, right? So make sure to publish this. Just check everything's working fine and save everything, and then just turn it to published, right? And once this is published, you can just copy the link, and if you just open it in a new tab, you should see the form in a new page, and users can start filling and start interacting with your application, right? So that's it. Thank you so much again, and I'll see you again in another video. Until then, good day.